Welcome to the Oh So Spurs podcast, the Eintracht Frankfurt preview. And I'm joined by 9/10 Tottenham fan, 1/10 Eintracht Frankfurt fan who knows all about them and HG. And HG, apparently you have the scarf you wear to the games, which is like 9, right up until the tassels, it's white and blue. Then it just turns red at the end.
Eintracht Frankfurt or whatever it would be. It is weird because I do have a half and half scarf from the last time we played at Frankfurt in the Champions League a few years ago that my friend sent me. Yeah, I suppose I can't lose a little bit, but I am fully Spurs for this one. Like Eintracht have won something recently. They won the Europa League a couple of years ago. It's now time for Spurs.
Can you just say, come on, you Spurs in German, just to prove to everyone this isn't a made-up thing?
A German accent would be easier. Like, what would they say? Like, Auf geht's, Tottenham. Auf geht's. Something like that.
There you go. Auf geht's, Tottenham. There you go. And we have Sai as well. Sai, how do I match up that introduction?
I don't know.
Loves Spurs and knows nothing about Eintracht Frankfurt apart from the first leg like me. Does that work?
Yeah.
Very good.
So, I think I might be able to say something about our side. Nothing about Frankfurt, other than it's 2 hours, 45 minutes for me and the missus won't let me go. So,
okay.
Read into that what you will.
Very good. Well, I think we discussed it before we went and hit record, right? That everyone got kind of a feel for Frankfurt in the first leg. So we'll focus more of this, 80% of it, on Spurs and what we need to do differently. We know who Frankfurt's danger man is. They've got a brilliant... How do you pronounce his name correctly, by the way, HG?
You mean Ekitike?
Ekitike. And what's the word for when it's the same red forwards as back?
A palindrome.
A palindrome. Brilliant palindrome. Yes. So we know he's going to be a danger man. The one thing in the brief in the first leg was probably don't give him space. And what did we do? Gave him the ball in a load of space, and then he scored a goal, and we went, better not do that again. But now we've got a goal deficit to overcome. But do you expect changes, guys, to the lineup versus the first leg? Anything significant that needs to be done to overcome that deficit we now have? Well, it was a draw, wasn't it? It was 1-1 draw.
Yeah, it was a draw for a start. Yeah,
what am I doing?
We're not behind.
Oh my gosh.
Feels like it though, for some reason, right?
It does. It's all the hysteria around Spurs at the moment. I just feel like we haven't won a game in 10 years. And then you look at the form guide and we're actually like, it's not as terrible as everyone's making out. But yeah, so what do we need to do? I think HG to the lineup wise, do you keep it the same? Change it?
I mean, I would change it, but I don't expect to see many changes, if at all, from the side that started last week. The ones that you might want to see, like we're now seeing Kulusevski for 20 minutes, so we might think, okay, he might be good enough to do something. And then the question is, do you want him for the first hour, or do you want him for the last possible hour, whatever that is? That's the question, I guess. Like, how do we want to play it? But I think there are changes that could be made and probably should be made, but I don't think Ange will make them.
So, do you?
Yeah, I think similar to HG there. I think that there's a couple of changes that you could do, but I think given the side that he put out at the weekend, I don't think he's going to change it much from the previous game, if I'm honest. I think he'll go out with the same mentality. I think, to be fair, it feels like we're going in a little bit behind because of the missed opportunities from the first leg, right? We should have and could have been sort of like 2 goals clear going back. We've hit the bar twice. The keeper's made a couple of good saves. Okay, you could say that Vic made 1 good save at the near post from them, but they really didn't come to offer much more than what they gave, and they took one on the break after 6 minutes, and then it was pretty much all us. But again, we didn't seem to be able to we weren't clinical enough. We couldn't seem to break down that deep line back 8 that 2 blocks of 4, and they defended really well. So I think it'll be, HG, you tell us if it's wider than mark, but I think it'll be something similar on Thursday, that they're going to be pretty cautious with us, try and hit us on the break. We're vulnerable down, especially down that right-hand side. Doesn't matter who plays there. The way that we set up, we've always got space down their left, our right. So I think that they'll expose that, and that's where the fella cut in from for the first goal on last Thursday. Yep. So I think he'll keep the same side. I'm just looking at who started. You might get Spence start, maybe. He had I thought he was the only one that came out with any sort of credit against Wolves. Some of his progressive play was pretty good, maybe. But I think given the selection, you'll see a pretty similar side to last time.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing with Eintracht. I mean, you're right. Like, they're not the side that will decide to play differently at home, and let's face it, Spurs give good chances to anyone. It doesn't matter how they play. We manage to set up a few chances for the opponents every time. So, yeah, they'll play to their strengths, and they know that we will come and try and beat them. And I mean, as you said, like, we should have beaten them last time. And so there's nothing to say that we can't go and do it. I don't necessarily feel as if Frankfurt at home are this massive force just because of the way they play. They do like to kind of sit back and wait to see what happens. And so if Spurs can take their chances, I think we'll go through. But it's, like whether I think that will happen in the first half or the second half, I mean, there's no logic to that. But I think that Spurs will have their chances to go through. And the way that Frankfurt plays will kind of allow that to happen.
They do have some players back though, don't they? They do have their goalkeeper back from injury.
Yeah, I mean, it's the interesting thing with the goalie is that he gave an interview on German TV on Sunday while Eintracht were playing their league game, and basically admitted that the young guy who replaced him is now better than him. So I don't think Trapp will play. In fact, I don't even think Trapp will be in the team, in the squad. The one thing that might happen is that they have Ansgar Knauf, who likes to play down the right-hand side. If he's fit, I expect he'll probably start, and they might move Bahoya over to the left, or they'll change things up a little bit. But that's the only change I expect them to make, because I think they're kind of set. They had a nice, comfortable win at the weekend in their league game, and so I think they're good to go. I think it really is all about what Spurs do, and if we can find maybe a better starting 11 that can take the chances that we should produce.
That was the key, wasn't it? It was so frustrating, that first leg, because on another day you really feel we have a 3-1 lead in the bag and this is a completely different ball game. Although weirdly, I don't like the idea of Spurs trying to sit out and hold a lead. So, maybe it does go slightly in our favour to be playing this way in a weird way. Do you guys not think surely Spence and Kulusevski go straight in? I know you guys have been a bit sceptical of those, but surely those two would.
I don't think Ange will.
No, exactly. Same as HG there. I think.
So you think they should? You just don't think they will?
For me, Spence would be one of the first names on my team sheet at the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's all about how you want to use it, because I can understand Udogie played well last week. He wasn't the negative that a lot of Spurs fans have thought in the last 2 or 3 months, like since he's got back from injury. I thought he played pretty well, and Porro, we know he scored, so there's obviously a use for him there. I think it's a question of, do you want to try and get all 3 of them playing? I don't know how that's possible. And again, like, if you do, well, then who do you move where? Because it seems to me that if you play all 3, then Udogie will be down the left, and Spence would likely be behind Porro, and Porro would be pushed a bit further forward, maybe to produce crosses or something that maybe Johnson doesn't produce. But again, it depends on what we're trying to do. Like, if we think that Frankfurt will come at us, which none of us do, but if we did think that, then maybe the pace of Johnson would be useful. But if you bring Kulusevski in, does he come in for Johnson? Does he come in for Madison? Like, there are choices to be made. I think we saw at the weekend that Kulusevski made us better against Wolves. Richarlison seems to find a goal. Whenever he plays centre forward, his record's pretty good for Spurs.
Yeah.
So I think really the question is, if they can't play the whole game, then when do you play them? Do you bring them on after an hour and hope that you don't need a miracle from them? Or do you play them early on and see how much you can get? It's going to be actually kind of a difficult choice, I think, for Ange.
Yeah. I could see him having Spence on the bench and bringing him on after 60 or 70 minutes if it's tight to try and open up that left-hand side a little bit if Udogie's not having that much success down there. He does carry the ball very well. He does take on players, I think, a bit better than Udogie does as well. So there could be that. I just think that the reason why Porro and Udogie didn't play on Sunday was for Thursday. So otherwise, why are you resting?
Does extra time then favour Spurs more, we're saying, than Frankfurt because of our squad?
I think we definitely have a deeper squad.
Sure.
I don't think there's any doubt about that. Our first 11 might well be better when it comes to individual quality. It's just that Frankfurt are a better side. Yes, it all depends on how you see it. Like, if you decided that we were going to play, 65, 70 minutes with your first 11, and then, every 10 minutes after that, you make a couple of substitutions because you think that that's going to help you, then who do you want to bring on? And even crucially, who do you want to take a penalty? Because that becomes part of it too. Like personally, someone like Kulusevski, I'd rather have on at the end of the game than I would at the beginning, if only for that reason. Yet I think he's part of our best 11, so you also want to start him. It's kind of a difficult thing. But the point that Si made about Spence, like we've got 3 fullbacks, and you probably do only want to use 2 of them, if only because you can then keep a third in reserve and they can come on and be something different, and be fresh legs without any loss of quality.
Yeah. It does sound quite appealing to me, the idea now of bringing on this. I know the problem is that Ange won't make these subs in the 60th minute. He'll wait to the 80th. That's what concerns me, or 75th. But I would like to see on the between 60 and 70 minutes, you see Spence and Kulusevski both come on, and a change to the midfield as well, and just lift the whole kind of energy back up of that team. And then knowing that even if it goes to extra time, you've still got some players like Richarlison you can bring on that can add another impetus of energy.
Yeah, I think if you look at the 4 that came on last week, you had Sarr, Spence, Tell, Richarlison came on. And if you stick Kulusevski on top of that for your 5 subs, then that's some game-changing players coming in right there, right? And Tell might feel a little bit more at home in the German league as well. Feels a bit more comfortable there. Might be able to show a little bit. And to HG's point, if a fully fit Kulusevski, he starts for sure. But can he last 120 minutes and go to penalties? I don't know. And I think same as HG, I'd rather have him on at the end rather than the beginning. And I think Spence will give us something in the last, if it has to go to extra time for sure, in the last 30, 40 minutes, I think he gives us something a bit extra as well.
I mean, like, I've always thought this season that Spurs have played well when we've had people on the wings who can hold the ball up. Right. And so as much as Kulusevski has been a massive part of our season, I think that Maddison is better when Kulusevski's on the pitch because he's not the only one who can create. But you can't really have them as the 2-8s because then you don't have anyone on the wing who can hold the ball up. Like, it's a massive part of who we are. If we can't hold it up, then the ball will come back. And when the ball comes back, we're caught in transition. So, like, if I was to pick a best starting 11 or a best Spurs 11, then Kulusevski would be down the right. There's no doubt in my mind about that. Then it becomes a question of who do you want in the middle? Because, Solanke can do it. And if he's not on his own doing it, he's probably more successful. Like, you start to improve the performance of your teammates if you build a team that suits them. You could easily make the case that Tell might be better to start than Son, and that we'd like Son to come on with, 30 minutes to go, 20 minutes to go, running at tired legs if it's still close. So that there are decisions to be made. I just think that they've already been made and they were made before the first leg. And that's where the nerves come in because you just don't know if that's really the best Spurs can be. Like, that 11 that started could beat Frankfurt and we wouldn't have to worry about extra time or anything. However, like, my instinct says that our best 11 actually doesn't contain that front 3 that started, and it might be a completely different front 3 that actually works best. But when whether we get a chance to find that out later in the tournament or later in the season, we don't know. But again, the choice is almost a problem now.
Tell's definitely growing into his Spurs boots, shall we say, as each appearance goes as well. Which I'm just looking at the last lineup we had against them. And I'm coming around to your guys' way of thinking now that I think Sarr's just become this player that is seen as bring on Mr. Energy. When there's a portion of a game to play, he's very unlikely to start. But I think you're right. Also, the likes of Son, it would actually, in a way, make sense to have him coming on at 60th minute because you definitely want him as a penalty taker, and you want him as one of your core penalty takers. And being able to bring him on, I think, is not only the impact he has from his experience, he's a big household name, and that would put fear into an anxiety into an opposition. I think if you saw Heung-min Son coming on as an impact sub, you'd be going, oh my gosh, these guys have got a big squad.
I mean, and if you think to the game last week, like, I know that watching the German coverage, when Spence came on, it was instantly, why did this guy not start? Like, those that have watched the Premier League over the last 3-4 months know that Spence has done really well. And the chance that Johnson had, it was Tell and Spence down the left-hand side. The cross came in and the first-time chance was there. Like, it can work. It's just, when do we want that to happen? And even I'm not sure what would be best. Because we can sit here and say, I want to win the game in the first hour and it's done. But, you said yourself, Jim, like we don't really want to go 2 goals up because then it'll be panic stations because we know we can't hold on to a lead. Like there's no confidence in any part of the game situation that could happen. So it's just hoping that the 11 that you do have work well together. They do function as a team and they can get it done. Because, again, talent-wise, I don't doubt that we have better players than Frankfurt.
Yeah, I just hope that we can get the ball forward a lot quicker than we did on Sunday.
Yeah.
Sunday's game was, we looked at the stats a little bit on the review pod last night, right? And the amount of touches in our defensive third and box, and the amount of touches that were between Romero and Davis, there was 280 touches in total in that part of the pitch, and 200 were either Davis or Romero. So the ball just kept getting recycled and recycled and recycled. It was almost like we didn't want to take on the fullbacks. And when we looked good against Chelsea, if we go back to the Chelsea game, where we looked good was actually when Son got past the fullback, and actually when Johnson got past the fullback in the 89th minute, and Son almost slid in for the goal. It was we look good when we can break that way, but we break and we then stop the play and recycle it so many times, and that's going to kill us tomorrow because they're going to reset really quickly. If they hit us on the break, they're so disciplined and they'll reset really quickly. We've got to, in transition, we've got to be very, very quick.
I think we're incapable of building out the back when you don't have both your best centre-backs fit, which is...
Well, Mickey will be back, won't he? Will he be fully fit? He'll do a full game, won't he?
Yeah.
That's the whole point of the resting him for this,
You'd think so, yeah. But my issue is if he comes off after 70th minute or we go to extra time, suddenly you're going to lose all that balance again because we do seem like we are not capable of... We've seen the system kind of work over periods, and it's typically when both your centre-backs are completely fit, and as soon as one of those drops, everything else starts to kind of fall bit by bit.
I mean,
the wayside.
This recycling that you're talking about, where basically the ball just moves to the wings and it's what the wingers can do, right? And since my personal belief is that Brennan Johnson can't really beat a man for pace on the outside, he needs someone else to move the ball for him, then you have to have, intricate little triangles, which we also can't really do. It's one of the frustrating things with Spurs is that when we try to play out, sometimes those triangles will work. Right. And then suddenly Maddison can break away and we're like, great, we've got a 4-on-4. Let's see what we can do. And it always comes to nothing because we make the wrong choice. And yet those triangles are what we need to do to break teams down, but we can't do it because, Son is not comfortable in that role and Johnson doesn't really like that role. They all want to be running onto through balls that we don't play because Maddison is the only one doing it. And he's usually on the edge of his own box trying to help the team to get out of it. We seem disjointed in so many ways that I don't necessarily blame the players for that. We are asking them to do things that just doesn't really suit them. And that's really my belief as to why I would probably start Tel over Son and I would probably start Kulusevski over whoever down that right-hand side because they are better at those layoffs and getting the runners involved. And if we get it wrong, as we've seen all season, that pass inside to if it's Bergvall that's making the run forward or if it's Porro that's making the run forward, if we get it wrong, they're out of position and then it's it. We're in trouble. So it's just an interesting situation. Like we seem to be quite good in one area and very bad in others, but we're not good enough at any as a team.
But that comes with the cohesion point, doesn't it? Go on, sorry, so.
No, I was just going to build on what HG was saying now, and we seem to know that we're not very good at that as well because there's been a number of times when Tel's been on the pitch in the last few games where either Udogie or Spencer's got the ball in that left fullback position. They've made the run, and he's got on his toes, only for them to cut back inside and come back to Van der Ven and back to Porro, and he looks totally frustrated with that. And it just seems to be, even when we do make the break, there's not the follow-up either. The camera pans back and there's one or two players making a run into the edge of the box. It doesn't seem to be what we were doing at the start of the season. And, you've got to think that, like we said yesterday, they can't be working on that in training. They must be working on other stuff in training that they're just not implementing on match day.
And the thing is, like, as much as I may not be Brennan Johnson's biggest fan, he can do the job.
Surely not.
I know, but we're not going to get into that. But like he could do the job that Kyle Walker did when we were really good. And Walker's job then was just to kind of stay wide, move up and down the flank, stay wide. And the amount of times he would get it on the touchline and just play it back to Eriksen, who would hit a first-time cross. Like we see Arsenal do that all the time with Ødegaard. It's the same idea. The ball is out wide, but you don't see Ben White or whoever's playing right back doing that. It just goes back to the more creative player. If we did that and gave it to Porro and he made those crosses, then I think Richarlison and Solanke, I think the quality's there to get on the end of it. But we don't do it. We seem obsessed with playing these triangles onto runners, and if the runners are out of position afterwards, we're in trouble. I don't feel like we need to make it as difficult as we do, but if we are going to be that kind of team that wants to push forward, then you have to have a defensive midfielder that sticks.
That's definitely...
And I think that last week, Bentancur did that better than normal. It's not his natural game as far as I'm concerned, but he did that better. But you need to have it because then you do have a third person. It's not just the centre-backs that are there to bail you out.
Yeah, that is it's such a single point of failure at the moment without that midfielder in that system. And the triangles also aren't working because we spoke about that before, but it's exaggerated the issue due to the injuries and the disruption throughout the year that these players are often going, I'm not really sure what the guy next to me is going to do next. I haven't played with them enough to really understand how they play and where they're going to be, and that cohesion's just not there, is it? But should we go on to some...
It's not, but I just feel that we've watched Spurs all season and some of our players have been here longer than the last 6 months. So we do know, at least I believe, that Porro and Kulusevski work well together. They understand what they want to do. The same goes with Bentancur down that side. They've been at the club now for over 2 seasons, all of them. And even though, obviously Bentancur was out injured for a while, they kind of understand the strengths of their teammates. I think we've seen down the other side that Spence tends to work well with those around him. But Son wants to cut inside, which means to me, Udogie needs to stay wide. Yeah. When he doesn't, then the two of them attack the same space. And again, then we're in trouble. And Maddison, to me, should be in that space too. Yeah. Having him play as almost a defensive midfielder just doesn't work. We need him closer to the opponent's goal. And so as much as I think that Udogie and Son and Maddison are all very good players, I don't think they work as a three down that side.
No, for sure. And I think to that point, that's where I like Spence and Son together, because Son likes to cut inside and Spence likes to overlap.
So true.
He doesn't cut inside like Udogie does. He likes to go down the outside, and that gives you the option of the overlap. And we've seen in the last few weeks, there's been a few options where he's made that run and made some quality balls into the box. I think that works.
Right, so we're going to wrap up with some score predictions really quickly. Who wants to go first? Actually, oh god, you're both laughing. So
I'm laughing because I expect it to be as painful as possible because it's Spurs, and I think it might go to penalties. I really do.
You're not saying out loud what happens in the penalties, though, are you? But we know the script.
No, I'm going to be positive. Spurs will make it. If it does go to penalties, I will get nervous, of course. But no, I think Spurs will go through. I think we're good enough to do it. It's really down to how we use the players we have. It's been that way all season. It's just that now we've got 20 players we can pick from as opposed to 10.
So
I can't call it, mate. I think it's going to be a pain. I think we win 1-0. I don't think it goes to penalties. I don't know if it goes to extra time or not. I think we scrape a 1-0 win. I think we keep a clean sheet.
Oh,
I know, big shout. But I think it will be a really nail-biting, skin-of-the-teeth clean sheet where you can't believe how they haven't scored. But I think we creep through. We creep through. I hope we creep through. And I hope for your sake, HG, that bus journey from Vienna to Frankfurt is well worth those 10 hours.
It will definitely be worth it, regardless. Right? I haven't seen Spurs live since Palace away, which was the last of the 10-game unbeaten run at the start. So I'm hoping that even if we lose, that will be the end of the curse since I last saw them.
Yeah.
And we'll go on a run and win every game from that moment on.
Well, I hope those footballing gods are smiling down on us on Thursday night.
I've got this weird vision of Richarlison scoring a winner in extra time.
Yeah, why not?
And a cross coming in from Tell, because Tell's a really good crosser of the ball. Yeah, and Richarlison's underrated in the air, I think. I could just see those two motions coming together.
That goal against Wolves was hilarious, though, wasn't it? I mean, did you see the XG of that goal?
No.
0.9.
Really? Wow.
More than a penalty.
More than a penalty.
Wow.
0.9. And that's what skewed our XG to 2.1 for the game, was Richarlison's 0.9.
Wow.
But if you get him to in that area,
he causes trouble.
He does, and he
Causes
scores.
trouble.
He's not actually he's a useful player in the squad if he's fit. He's a useful
awkward.
player.
He's a pain.
Yeah.
He causes problems for sure.
And
similar to your relationship with Johnson, I've not had the best one with Charlton over the years.
Yeah, no, I just think that if you put him in the place where he can score, he will score. If you ask him to do something intricate 35 yards from goal, he might struggle.
Yeah.
But if you say, right, you are the figurehead, you are the number 9, and we're going to put it on your head, or we're going to do something and just make yourself a nuisance, he does that really well.
Yeah, he does.
He really does. Jim, what was yours? I'm sorry, we jumped in on you. Did you give a prediction?
I was going to say 2-1 Spurs.
2-1 Spurs.
Going in at 1-1 at full time, and then us to win it last minute. And then there to be a huge argument afterwards over whether we should still sack Ange anyway to have a better chance of the semi-final and just have a completely divided fan base.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well.
All right. Up the Spurs anyway.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs. Auf geht's.